Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. This is the Wheel of Doom. We all know it. We all love it. I am fresh from fiddling with a whole bunch of settings, so those of you that kind of follow the channel will know that I tried to stream from La Quinta very recently. And, of course, while I was trying to deal with their awful connection speeds, I fiddled with, like, every single setting in OBS. So I had to undo some of that. So sorry for starting a couple of minutes late, but that was why. So actually interesting. It says I can actually stream better, but you know what? This looks okay to me. I'm just going to keep it this way so I don't have to fiddle right now. Scotch Down Under, nice to see you in the chat. Wow. You're either up really early or really late. Let's see. So, by the way, I did see some people hoping I got proper 12 on the wheel. So, well, it was really just Alex. He's a jerk. But you know what? Alex sent me a whole bunch of samples recently, so I suppose I can forgive him. Oh, hey, James, thanks for joining. That's awesome. It's early there. All right, cool. So just a quick reminder for everybody. The Wheel of Doom is designed to be a fun little thing where I look at a whole bunch of different whiskeys. So we'll actually pop over here real quick. Make sure yep. All right, so I have a whole bunch of whiskeys on the wheel. There's actually a ton more whiskeys that I have kind of waiting in the wings, but as you can see, the wheel itself is pretty full. So I need to get through some of these guys. That way I could start kind of getting into some other whiskeys. But the idea here is I want to chat with you all. I'm going to tell you some stories about La Quinta this week, this past weekend. I think that'll be kind of fun, as well as just drink some random whiskeys and talk about them a little bit. So, Adriana, sorry, I see you in the chat. Nice to see you. If you don't end up getting to drink that Parker's, just go ahead and forward it to me. Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. Actually, I thought maybe I pulled that one already. Maybe I didn't take it off the list, but maybe I didn't. I don't know. It's tough to say. I did end up I probably have another 30 samples to put onto the wheel. Rough Spirits Collection's nice to oh, hey, it was nice hanging out with you. And, I hope you, actually, if you think about it, send me an email because there was something I wanted to talk to you about. All right. Cheers, buddy. Yeah. I missed doing Dungeons and Drams. Adriana's just kind of reminded me of that. I missed doing that this week. I totally could have, but it was just a bit of a stretch. So we're going to be doing that on Monday, this upcoming week. All right, let's go to pouring our first whiskey just so we can kind of start this ball rolling. All right. So, switch our little everything over here to the Wheel of Doom. All right, so the way I do this typically is I reach over, I'm a bit blind, and I just kind of grab whatever I feel like grabbing. And then we figure it out together. All right, so Driftless Glen Rye. Awesome, starting off with a rye. Nice, 48%. This is batch 10. That's a pretty hefty thing, so I'll probably pour about half of this. That's another thing with the Wheel of Doom is that, I don't want to pour the whole thing because either I'll get completely hammered, which is fun and certainly I'm not above that. But I like to do at least 5 different samples over the course of the hour, ideally 6. So Driftless. So let's see. So I have all of this stuff. So we're going to grab Driftless Glen. So this is what the bottle looks like, although that appears to, 51. So I'm guessing that's, all right, so this isn't quite the right one. So this is the batch 10, which is 48%. But that's a generic image I found online. So we're going to just leave that up. And we'll go from there. 6 full ones would be rough in an hour. Hey, you know what, Adriana? I'm so sorry. I promise I'll get over that. Adriana, the best thing about doing these in hour sprints, as you probably know yourself, you really can drink an entirely way too much amount of alcohol and then sign off right before it hits you. So when you guys see me go like an hour and 20, that's when it starts getting a little rough. All right, so let's look up a little bit here. So we've got the Driftless Glen. Let's go ahead and give this a nose. Ooh, that smells yummy. Actually, that smells very yummy. It's like fruity for a rye. It reminds me a lot of New Riff, but actually like way nicer. This is surprise. I've never had Driftless before, so I'm excited to try this. And actually, I'm very excited to have a rye. I actually have a little surprise at the end of the episode. It'll be my last pour of the night. Something I've been dying to try. So it won't be exactly random, but you'll see how it can still constitute random. Normally hits me about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. Because I always need a pregame drink. I enjoy that practice as well. I do find that I am better if I've had something first. My wife is doing something work related tonight. So she's a teacher. So she's at her school tonight, but she usually will have a beer with dinner or maybe like after dinner. So typically if I'm coming to live stream, I've had at least a beer, if not a whiskey or two. All right. So let me see if I can give you anything a little bit better than just it's sweet and it smells like New Riff. Almost like white grapes, which is insane on a rye. That doesn't make any sense. This reminds me of something very specific, and I'm trying to remember what it is. Ryes are not at the forefront of my brain. They're so few and far between, and I just really enjoy. Do you guys like rye? In the chat, tell me if, like, what's your general opinion? Do you steer clear of them, or are you, we're all pretty good drinkers at this point. I would imagine pretty much everything's on the table, but do you ever gravitate towards ryes, or do you just kind of stick with like your scotches, your bourbons, etc.? Very clean smell. It's only 48%, but there's no burn whatsoever on the nose here. Opening up just a little bit, getting kind of like an orange, maybe a little bit of like a pine tree. Very interesting. All right, let me go ahead and give this a sip. And I'm not sure who sent this one to me. In the future, if anybody here sends me a sample, write your name somewhere on it, like on each, if you don't mind, even if it's just initials or something, because I'll put it together. Just because I feel bad when I haven't, had these for like a year, and then I don't remember who gave it to me. So let's see. I drink everything. Hell no, we don't go to rye. Seagrass. Yeah. Oh, huh. Obviously this isn't seagrass, but this actually reminded me of something else that I've smelled in an Ardbeg before. You kind of like that. Seagrass apparently reminds me of Ardbeg, which makes no sense. Maybe just the way they name things. And then this kind of reminds me of something. So before I have a sip, I'm going to try to figure that out. I have no idea. All right, anyway, let's go ahead. Cheers, everybody. Ding. Sorry, tell me if that's way too loud. I won't do it anymore. I've definitely had something that tastes just like this before. What ryes did I have? Wow, that drink's pretty hot. 48%. I would have put that at like 50 to 52, somewhere in there. Obviously first sip. So first sip of the night. No, do that every time. Awesome, will do. So pinch hitter, thank you very much for being on top of the links. I appreciate that so much, and I know all of us channels do. You are a gentleman and a scholar. All right, so tasting this, some of that pine does actually come through. It's actually something I get almost immediately, which pine in a rye is not something I feel like I pick up very often, if ever. There's almost like I think I know what it is. Everybody says that they can pick up mint in a rye. I think I totally am in this case. And I actually was just looking. So I don't know about you guys. I eat like a ton of gum, like an obscene amount. And most of it's minty. And I just looked over and I was like, that's exactly what I'm tasting. It's like spearmint. Super good though. And this has this nice drying sensation. This is a tasty whiskey. I'm curious. I'm on their website right now. I'm curious what this goes for. So this is a Wisconsin, huh? Let's see, 51 rye, small batch. Let's just go with the small batch. Like, what does that cost? Let's say my birthday is this, and okay, so it's like $45 somewhere in there. It says 47, but I would guess you could probably get it for around mid 40s. That's pretty cool. I think this is totally properly priced. Yes, the Lazy Susan is motorized. This one I bought but the original Wheel of Doom I made out of a barrel head that I stained, and then I cut a hole in the bottom of it. I don't want to get up and get it. And then I built a little box out of wood, and then I put a rotisserie motor in there, and then I cut a little dowel, for lack of a better term, put it into the rotisserie thing, stuck it into the bottom of the barrel head, and then I put this ball bearing kind of circular thing. I ended up buying that part off of Amazon, and then just put everything together, and it totally worked, but it's wicked loud. So I didn't want to, use that any longer than I had. Plus, I bought this thing to do B-roll. I hardly ever use it for anything other than the Wheel of Doom. So. All right, let's see. I love Driftless Glen Rye. The Mash and Journey pick from a few months ago was amazing. Wow, there's a surprise. Jason did a pick of a whiskey. Man, he is just doing awesome. I'm like so impressed by what he's been able to do. Speaking of which, that post I put up yesterday about my my 3-chord that's left did very well. I actually shipped off 3 of them this morning. So I think I have 2 more for sale. So if anybody is interested, I would imagine they'll probably sell out within a day or 2. I'm keeping 6 bottles for myself because I need them because they are delicious. Let's see. Have a case of our Driftless Cask Strength store pick. It's so good. I definitely gotten a pine note on some ryes before. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't recall actually getting that too much, but tasting it here, I think maybe I've just missed it in the past because I feel like I've tasted that before. I love that for some reason. I never knew I needed a motorized lazy Susan in my life until now. This thing was like $80, so it's not cheap, but it's awesome for doing B-roll if you actually make use of it. Okay. Rough Spirits Collection has asked the first question about Crowded Barrel. So I think it's time that maybe I talk your ears off about the Bastard's Ball this weekend. So I'll talk for a few minutes. We'll pour another one. Don't tell me, Bill, I just paid out for the Found North release. Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you got that. I know I saw that in the Discord earlier. So for those of you that don't know, so Found North is a company that makes, they make Canadian and American blends. They do a rye and an American whiskey, but they, blend it together. So yesterday they released their first single barrel. It sold out in 12 minutes. Amazing. And it tastes so good. So if you guys have an opportunity to get batch number 2, you should definitely do it. And if you're interested in buying any of their regular bottles, I would guess that my promo code's probably still working. So if you use, try like Whiskey Dick or The Whiskey Dick, all one word, DIC. And you should get free shipping. Hopefully they kept that up. If not, then you should buy it anyway. All right. 15 minutes in and just one dram. I know, Alex. I always take forever to get the first one, but trust me, I ramp up. All right. So let me have another sip of this. I'll pick another whiskey, and then I'll talk all about the Crowded Barrel. This one gets a buy it from me. For $47 for that, that is a really good rye, and that's one that you could introduce people to, and I think that they would be turned on to rye. All right, let's go ahead and grab another from the Wheel of the Doom. I agree. Batch 4 is amazing. I don't think you can get Batch 2 anymore, but Batch 2 was probably my favorite. Oh, I've actually been wanting to try this one. So this one's nothing like overly special, but it's something that I've been wanting to try only because... Is this, hold on. Huh. I don't know if this is the right one or not, but I'm going to throw it up here anyway. So it's either this Yellowstone 101. No, this is 93%. So I'm going to go with probably just the regular one. Let's kill that. And then let's resize this bad boy. Cool. So I've been wanting to try this one for a long time. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've watched that show Yellowstone, and it just kind of got me into it. And then when I was like, oh, there's a whiskey called Yellowstone, I wonder if it has anything to do with it. I have no idea if it has anything to do with it, but I'm going to pour that whole thing. That one's getting knocked off the list. Hey, Clifton, nice to see you. Cheers. All right. Oh, that smells like wet dog. Smell I've become all too familiar with. So, let's see. Okay, that went away fairly quickly, but immediately that smelled like wet dog. That's kind of weird. I don't have high hopes for this one right now. So it's 93%, or sorry, 93 proof. So what is that, 46.5? Nice, Adriana. The one I have, it's like black and it's super smooth, so that's probably why. But if you can get it for $20, hell yeah, do it. Sipping on Aran, or how do you say that? Is it Aran or Aran? I've only ever seen it written. I've never heard it said. So, either way, Aran. I'm gonna go Aran. 10 tonight. Cheers, Bill. Archie, nice. Glad. Store pick or the regular Yellowstone shelfer, I believe. I'm thinking that's probably what it is. I actually wonder if I zoom in on this guy. Can we see? Let's make that huge. Oh, you could see me behind the bottle. Ah, help me. Sorry, that was ridiculous. I'm not even drunk enough to get away with that yet. All right, so this one's 93, so this is probably this one. All right. Cool. Let's get that smaller. And then it's time to talk about the ball. So, fun fact, Texas is freaking hot. It was like 98, 96, 94, 96, something like that. So I flew down. So the ball was on Saturday. It's pronounced like Aaron. All right, cool. Thank you. So I flew down on Thursday. And I've made this mistake in previous years where I always come too late and I leave too early because, frankly, just paying for the hotel and paying for the flight, flying out on a weekend is always more expensive than flying out on a weekday. So, trying to make the money go as far as I can. I always penny pinch too much. And this year I didn't want to do that because every year I've missed the little event that Chad and Sarah put on at the $7,000 bar. And this year I was able to go to that. So that was cool. So anyway, I came down on Thursday and I ended up meeting up with Kilco and this other guy, Cliff, and this other guy, John. And all four of us ended up going out to dinner, at which point I ended up actually, I wish I would have prepared this because I'm going to do this real quick. Let me grab this because I want to show you these. These are amazing. I may not have, sorry, forgive me here. This is totally the worst way to do a live stream, but trust me, this will pay off. So I'm going to throw this into Discord real quick so I can grab it off my phone easily. I'm going to throw it in the bar. If you don't belong to the Discord, you should. And now I'm going to go over to Discord and I'm going to drag that picture into this folder I've got going on here. Yeah. All right. Oh, screw you. Shortcuts. All right, there we go. Cool. Check these things out. Oh, yeah. Those are meat loaf cupcakes. We ended up going out to a steakhouse, and I didn't necessarily want to drop like $70 on a steak. I just wasn't in the mood, honestly, but also I was being cheap again. So it was funny. Like Kilco and I were talking over text, and we were like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" I was like, "Oh, there's like a place called BJ's. It's basically think like a Chili's or like an Applebee's, but a little nicer." And I was like, "Let's just go there. Let's kind of just get some food, get some beers, have it easy because we all just flew in." And he was like, "Well, what if we go to this place called what was it called? Not it was a steakhouse. I'm sorry." I can't remember what it was called. Not Chief or Chef, but like, something. I don't remember. Either way, it was a steakhouse. And so while we were there, I'm looking and they've got like the big display of meat and it looks awesome. And I'm like, I want one of those things. And I sit down and I look and it was like $70 to pick one. And I'm like, I don't need that in my life yet at the moment. But what I do need is something I've never seen before. And that is meatloaf cupcakes. So if you look very closely, you'll see that they bothered to put some vegetables on there. There are some peas. And it had what is it called? Mashed potato frosting, which was very good. So that was fun. They were very good, actually. I ended up eating the whole thing, super, super full, but, sorry. Yeah, I'm not loving this Yellowstone 93. Well, let's see if it grows on me as I kind of chat a little bit here. So anyway, we went out to dinner. We got our stuff and whatever. We got way too much food. And then we went back to the hotel where Cliff, John, myself, Kilco went back to Brian. He went back to his hotel. So here was another thing. I'm sorry for the scattered thoughts. I'm just kind of recollecting as I'm speaking. Had a very hectic night right before I got on here, so I didn't have time to like write notes and actually be professional. Anyway, so Brian, he went back to his other hotel. Now, here's the problem with the Bastard's Ball right now, is La Quinta, which is where we have been staying the last few times, is more expensive than it should be. The place is basically a shithole, right? It's not a very nice hotel, and there'll be more to come about that in a little bit. But I don't remember what it was. It was like $130 a night is not bad for a hotel, which is what I ended up paying. But there were people who paid a lot more than that, and there were people like the room that you're getting for that should be like less than $100. It's just it's brutal. Anyway, so Kilco went to a different hotel. Cliff, John, myself, and this other guy that I feel real bad, but I'm totally not remembering his name. He ended up joining us at like midnight or so at our place, and he lives like 5 minutes down the way. And we just started drinking whiskey. I showed up with a beer because I'm dumb. I drank about half the beer before I said, "What the hell am I doing?" And I, threw it down the drain, threw it away, and started pouring whiskey. So I had the Chicken Cock Rye, which, excuse me, I've never actually had before, but for what it is, I don't know what it costs, but I can't imagine it's expensive. It was pretty good. It was very drinkable for what it was. So we had that, had a few other pours. I'm trying to remember. There was one that was, I think it wasn't Garrison Brothers, and it wasn't Old Elk. It was something else. It was like a very, very rectangular bottle. I'm not going to remember, but if anybody that was there, I don't know, Cliff or Brian, if you're on, if you can remember, but it was super good. And it was from this local place over in Connecticut called Irene's. That's not what it's called, but we all know it as Irene's. And she does these really, really nice store picks. And this one was called like Maple Candy or something like that. And it tasted like it was very good. So that was Thursday night. So already off to a good start. So let's check in with the chat for a sec. Those actually look delicious. Yeah, man, they were good. Let's see. Thank you. Man, Pinch Hitter, you're awesome. The way you feel about meatloaf cupcakes, Pinch Hitter, is either that they're delicious or that you're wrong. There's just too many new American whiskeys to keep track of. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I feel bad. I should know whiskey, right? Like, that's kind of what I do. And to not even remember what I was drinking is pretty bad. But I attribute that to jet lag and for the 1 hour difference and drinking too much. All right, let's see. So Rough Spirits Collection. Hey, Donald. Hey, Donald. Nice to see you. Anyway, all right. So Thursday night. So on Friday morning, woke up very late. I actually took advantage of it. I mean, those of you that know me know I have a couple of young kids. I have a wife, a dog, job. I don't sleep a whole lot. I stay up super duper late, 1, 2 o'clock most nights. I wake up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, usually 7. And then I don't sleep on the weekends. So not literally, but still. So taking advantage of this, I slept till like I slept till 8:50, and then I started getting alerts for people trying to get in touch with me being like, "Bill, you got to come down here for breakfast." So I did. I got up, went and got breakfast, came back to the room, went back to sleep for like 2 more hours. It was wonderful. I woke up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there. And then where did we head? What did we do on Friday? Jeez, I don't even remember. I have my calendar here, though. I could find that out real easy. What did we do? I'm going to feel... Oh, Andalusia. Or Andalusia. Yes. So Andalusia. So the short that I put out earlier today. So the whole point, go meet at Andalusia, and a bunch of other whiskey tubers were going to be there. And we were going to hang out and just kind of take a behind-the-scenes tour. Maybe like check out some barrel stuff. Sample from the barrel, for example. And generally have fun. And we did. And I met up with Matt from Whiskey Crusaders, as well as Will and Sarah from Whiskey Crusaders. Kilco was there. Chad and Sarah showed up eventually. Bourbon Battalion was there. Sorry if I'm forgetting anybody else, but there were a few other people I met that didn't necessarily have channels. And it was super fun. So we ended up taking our tour, and we saw their whole situation, which it's a small distillery. So they're all very similar. Well, actually, no, that's not true. So for anybody who's done distillery tours of small distilleries, you'll actually realize that they all have very specific parts, of course, because you have to make the whiskey. And that's about the only thing that they have in common. Everybody's just trying to fit everything where they can. And it's kind of charming to see how they do this. So in the case of Andalusia, they're building these 2 brand new, like, I guess you could call them rick houses, but they're they don't have the charm of they're made of like sheet metal, but they're taking advantage of the Texas sun and the fact that it's going to be super hot. They're going to have it controlled in a way, but I think their really just intent is to let the elements just kind of beat on these barrels. And I think that's pretty cool. They have these huge water tanks, which are neat. They have a smoker where they smoke their own whiskey, barrel staves and stuff like that. Or is that what they do? They smoke something, and then they use that in the making of the whiskey. I'm wondering if it is, it's got to be the staves. Or maybe I don't think they're putting stuff into the barrels. Unfortunately, I was busy like filming and didn't pay a super lot of attention. So I'm kind of the worst. But I did end up buying a bottle. So I got this thing. You'll probably see it just like featured on the channel. I won't do an actual review of it only because you can't get it. So this is the Revenant Oak, and this is a port finished bourbon, essentially, which very, very cool. It's barrel number 535. Its proof is 120.94. I'll probably wait to open this one for a special occasion, mostly just like me seeing it at some point. But I don't know how much you can tell, but that color is like you can't see through it, which is wonderful. And I can't see the camera through it, so it's not just a trickery of the lights. Very, very good, though. So here's a question for you all, and I will be monitoring. I'll monitor the chat here because I'm very curious. Does anybody know any good port finished bourbons readily available? Not like special releases or something. Although I'm like somewhat interested in that, but I'm more loving port finished bourbons right now, and I would love to get more of them. That bottle is like super clear. So if you want to, just check out the short that I put up earlier today, maybe after the stream. It's like 50 seconds of your life, and you'll see I was pouring it, and it just is so dark. So Woodinville, Chattanooga. Okay, Chattanooga does one. Oh, that's right. Angels. Yeah, Angel's Envy is the obvious choice. Good call. I almost don't think of Angel's Envy only because it's got to be such a light finish. I mean, think of the way that Angel's Envy looks as far as the clarity compared to what I just showed you. Doc Swinson's has one. It's finished with a few other things, too. Part of their Alter Ego line. Okay. Love me some port. Woodinville is a good one, too. My favorite port finish is Thomas S. All right, so there's a few of them. I'm going to go back through the chat after the stream and kind of write some of these down because I'd actually like to do, like, 4 port finished bourbons, just do like a comparison or like a versus or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, let's I've been kind of putting this off because it wasn't super good the first couple sips, so let's see if we can get anything else. Nose is getting a little bit better, but it's still not really anything special. Has anybody here tried the Yellowstone 93? Do you have a good opinion of it, or just like kind of a mediocre? Like right now, this would get an ignore it from me from the little bit I've tried it. I don't know that I agree, Jonathan, with Angel's Envy being overrated, because frankly, I really enjoy it. But, I mean, I'm not going to say I've got the best palate in the world either. Here's what I will agree with. I think Angel's Envy is good, and I think for the price that you pay for it, it's close. Like, I wouldn't say it's a good price, but I don't think it's egregious. But the bottle is what makes that brand. If it did not have that bottle, it would just be another bottle on the shelf. So in that it's overhyped because of people look at it and be like, oh my gosh, Angel's Envy. Yes, I agree with you there. But I also think it's a good whiskey. All right. Cedar Ridge in Iowa. Oh, of course they do. Yeah, good call, Rough Spirits. Cedar Ridge does everything. Man, what a hidden gem Cedar Ridge is. Like, they have a lot of really good stuff. I wish that they would expand a bit, but I could see them being a bit like Balcones, where they are kind of everywhere and they have like 10 different expressions on the shelf. All right, let's see. Pinch Hitter says, I have a bottle of Yellowstone and it got better after being open and getting some breathing room in the bottle. It's not amazing though. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I think this would probably, if I had a bottle of this, it would almost certainly end up getting mixed into something, or just left on the shelf forever. So, all right, let me just kick this one back and be done with it. Okay, so let's see. So after Andalusia, we ended up, did we go out to like dinner or something? Boy, you would think I would remember better, but no, this is truly how bad my memory is. I mean, you also got to keep in mind, like, you drink for days. You're not going to make too many memories. Oh, okay, yes. So after this was a great night, actually. So let me pick another whiskey. So let's get rid of this Yellowstone and get rid of the Driftless Glen. Boom, Wheel of Doom. All right. Whoopsh. It's good, but not for the price. That's just me. Well, what is the going rate of Angel's Envy at the moment? If anybody wants to look that up for me, that'd be cool. Because I could be wrong. Like, it used to be 50, and if it's much over 50, then I think I might agree with you. You guys are gonna be happy about this one. All right. Well, actually, I mean, I have a bottle of this, but I like it, so I'm all right with it. So this is the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. So I'm actually, here's where I think this will be fun for me. This is from Mark Reyes or Reyes. So I remember this one tasting a lot like barbecue smoke, and I'm very curious if it's going to continue to be that way. Let's see. The port finished bourbon goes for 50 to 55. Okay. The rum finished rye goes for anywhere from 80 to 100. Yeah, the rye I have wanted to buy about 100 times, and I just can never pull the trigger at $80 because I'm just like, an $80 rye that isn't clearly just you need to buy this when you see it. That doesn't do it for me. I mean, a rye, funny thing is, rye costs more to make than bourbon, so it should be more expensive, and it's a bigger pain in the butt. So, like, I kind of get it, but like, it should be more expensive, but it's just not. So anyway, all right. Yum yum yum. Ardbeg Wee Beastie, good stuff. All right, so where was I? So we ended up leaving Andalusia. I had my bottle, went back to the hotel room actually just to drop a whole bunch of stuff. No, that's not true. I left Andalusia and then I went to the Crowded Barrel because Eric Waite was going to be doing a live stream there. And word was that he was going to be paying for everybody's drinks for a little while. So I wanted to get in on that. I figured if I'm at the Crowded Barrel, I might as well mooch, right? So I did so. I'm going to get off Discord because people are messaging. So we ended up going to the Crowded Barrel, and I was walking around a little bit, met a whole bunch of other people that... Let me just take a step back here. So, weirdest thing, although I will say I love it, like 100% do this every time, but... The weirdest thing about being a YouTuber that people have, at least, like, if you're watching The Tribe, there's a good chance you've seen one of my videos, right? Everybody knows who I am, and I have no idea who they are, and I have no idea if I've met them before. And that is a super awkward position to be in because, they'll come up and they'll just be like, "Hey, Bill!" And I'm just like, do I know you and I've forgotten you? Do I have no clue who you are and you just know me from the channel? Did I just meet you, like, yesterday? And I just have a shit memory. Like, it's super weird. Or did somebody just say, like, "Hey, that's that's Bill over there." Like, I have no idea where I'm coming from. And the chances of me remembering people from 3 years ago, the last time I was at the ball, pretty slight. So it's a very strange situation. But anyway, I still love it. If any of you guys ever see me in the wild, just come up, introduce yourself. Or, if you're watching this live stream, be that way and just say, like, "Hey, Bill," and expect me to know who you are. But either way. So we go to the Crowded Barrel, and Eric doesn't have his live stream going. There was some issue with the internet, so he's just milling around. Eric's wearing gym shorts and wearing, like, a nicer shirt. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening right now. And he's got his luggage with him, and him and I just kind of connect, talk for a few minutes, and then we start walking up to the Wizard's Tower. I'm like, okay, so I guess there's no live stream. I guess I'm not hanging out down here. But we're on our way to the Wizard's Tower where all the whiskey is kept, so I'm not going to complain. So we start walking up there, and we get up to the tower, and to see the inside of the whiskey vault, the new one, is always amazing. It's kind of like, I'm going to assume that most of you have a similar collection to myself, or at very least, you probably have the largest collection of whiskey among your friends. Imagine the situation, which we've probably all been in, where you have your friends over and you point to your whiskeys and you say, pick whatever you like. Just take a minute, pick whatever looks good. I do it all the time. And I do it to my friends who have drank here multiple times, and they always just look at it with, like, deer in the headlight. I have no idea what to pick. That's the way I was at the Wizard Tower, and always have been, because there are like 2,000 bottles, probably more, probably a lot more. And most of them I know nothing about. Like maybe a tenth of them I've ever drank. And, you know, there are some really, really nice bottles locked away. You could totally open it and like get them, but there's bottles everywhere. So I'm hanging up on the top of the Wizard's Tower, which is an open aired thing. So if you kind of picture it this way, you've got this middle section. So the tower is 5 floors. On the third floor is where we hang out. And that's the first floor where the middle is open to the air. And then over here, it goes up 2 more floors. Over here is where all the whiskey's kept. And this kind of has a higher ceiling. So it's like a floor and a half. But there's shelves and there's ladders and you could climb up and you could find stuff. You just can't pour for yourself unless you're a somm. So Eric Waite in gym shorts is like seeing a senior citizen in shorts after calisthenics, inviting you to play shuffleboard in a retirement community. I don't necessarily know what that means, but I'm inclined to agree. So let me have a sip of this because good stuff. All right. So anyway, we go into there, and the first thing that happens is Travis, for those of you in the Discord will know him as Big Sexy. So Travis walks up to me, and he hands me a bottle of Big Black Cock and says, "Bill, you're going to have this." I'm almost like, oh, good. And so, of course, it gets poured. He's like, "How do you like that big black cock in your mouth?" Of course, right? So, and, people are laughing, and I'm laughing, and it's funny. It's genuinely funny because guys are immature and wonderful. And so, yeah, that was good. So I started with that, and I'll be honest, wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, which is also a soundbite. So we had that one bottle that I actually wanted to have. So I didn't want to blow my palate on a whole bunch of peated stuff right away because I love peat. I'm drinking peat right now. I love peat, but obviously we know that can blow your palate, especially if you're going to like switch to Speyside or something fruity. So I went and I had a Bunnahabhain something, and I've been looking on their website and I cannot find it, and I have no idea what it was. It was something that looked like, you guys know Bunnahabhain, like you can't pronounce half of their stuff anyway, right? So they're not helping themselves. But it was something I have never seen before. I looked at their limited editions. I didn't see it in there. I've looked at their special, their out of country releases, and I haven't seen it there. So I have no idea what I had. I wish I would have taken more pictures, but I was just kind of in the moment, right? In previous years, actually, Rex and Daniel have suggested that people don't film while we're doing this first night. And I love that concept because, frankly, we're all there. We're all going to be filming the whole time, and it's just a way to kind of give you that excuse to not be on. This year, nobody said anything about that, so like people were filming and stuff, and I was just I was trying to maintain that spirit of like, let me just enjoy being here. So I had that. I had another Bunnahabhain, which was from 2022. I want to say 2003, somewhere in there. It was pretty old. Very, very good. Both of them very good. Although, knowing what they probably charge for those now, I've got to say, I think that some of the other Bunnahabhains probably could hold up. But either way, it was super fun to have some of those. Now, what can't hold up, and I'm going to grab another picture of this one because you guys will be a little jealous, and I'll be lying if I said this wasn't part of the intent. So let's grab this. Let's see, Bastard's Ball. Go away, Discord. Luckily, I put a whole bunch of these pictures up here earlier, so I'm going to grab a couple of these because they'll come in handy. And this one too. All right, cool, because I'm going to talk about all these. All right, so the one I had that I think most of you will really like is this guy right here, Springbank 19. Boy, let me tell you, I know I made a big deal about starting to enjoy Springbank a while ago. This would have sold me on it with no hesitation whatsoever. That 13, I believe, was the one that finally made me... Now people are just talking about whiskey dick. I love it. The 13 was the one that kind of finally made me appreciate what Springbank could be. But holy crap, if I had ever tried this, I would have just been like, you need to find more of this for me. No idea what this costs. I'm sure it's obscene. but I actually had 2 pours of that because it was very good. All right, so I had a few more pours of stuff, including, actually, there was another one that I do want to mention. So probably the biggest shock of the night in drinking a whiskey that was actually any good was the Wayne Gretzky one. There was one that was ice wine cask finished, and I want to say it was a rye, but it might have been a bourbon. No, it wouldn't have been a bourbon, I don't think. I think it was a rye. It would make sense. If it's Wayne Gretzky, it's probably Canadian, and it's probably a rye. Let's just say it's a rye, finished in ice wine casks. Now, it had a cool flavor, but I will say it's almost like having somebody put a crappy whiskey into Mizunara, where you're like, man, that wood's hard to come by. Like, you shouldn't waste it on something like this. And the ice wine one, although it was good in rough spirits, I hear you there. It was good, but I remember just thinking, I'm like, rye doesn't belong with ice wine. I just can't imagine a rye is going to hold up to ice wine. Or even if it was a bourbon, maybe it was a higher proof bourbon or something like that. But I don't know. Like, you're not wrong, Freed. Ice wine, typically just ice wine, is like is a Riesling an ice wine? I feel like it must be, or maybe that's just Moscato maybe is an ice wine. I don't know. Those are very sweet wines. Ice wine is even sweeter. I kind of learned all about that process, but regardless, it didn't go very well with the Gretzky thing. It just didn't hold up to it, and it was disappointing, but it was okay. All right, so did you have the Glen Breton cask strength? Not to my memory, Donald. If I saw it there, I might have thought to try it, but the one thing that's tough about the vault is that I try real hard to have things that not only will I just never see in person anywhere else, but that I've never heard of. Now, I really wanted to try those Bunabens. Just I've been kind of on a Bunaben kick lately, but everything else were things I knew that I would just never get a chance to try. Okay, so after the vault that night, a bunch of other people went to another location. I was driving, so I didn't want to overdrink. Just driving a rental in a place I don't know at nighttime, plus trying to be responsible. Like, I drank a very small amount at the vault, which was regrettable because you really could just get hammered there and have a great time. But I ended up driving back to the hotel, at which point I ran into a bunch of people at the La Quinta lobby, which was awesome. And we had a great time for a few hours. So I ended up hanging out with people and whatever. That was really fun. All right, let me finish this Ardbeg here. Wee Beastie is seriously like really good whiskey. It's very different than the 10. So if you're looking to try, it's not a very big commitment. I want to say you can get like $45, and it's different enough that it's fun. All right, let's go ahead and pick another whiskey here. Let's try this little guy. Oh, all right. So this one is, I believe. Whoops, that was the wrong screen. All right. PH Heavy Char Bourbon. I believe Parker's Heritage. Yes, finally. All right, cool. Well, that's good. So I'm going to have some fun with this one. So let me drop this on here for you all to see. Of course, I killed all my everything prep because I was... Oh, man, I'm the worst. All right, here we go. Boom. So it's been a long time since I've had anything Parker's Heritage. Parker's Heritage, actually, they were the ones that did the Curacao, right? Finished, I think. Was that what it was? They did it for like a charity or something. Well, all right. So there were Ubers, and I could have Ubered, and that may have been smart. But I really wanted to have my own car. That way I could kind of come and go as I didn't want to just end up in a situation where I was hammered and people had to take care of me. Like, it's just not a good look. At least for me. Like, I'm not judging other people who may or may not have given me a big black cock and ended up sleeping on a couch and had a good time. So, you know what? I'm pouring this whole thing. Parker's Heritage, man. Hell yeah. Very excited. Yes, it was orange curacao. I thought so. I wasn't willing to say that, but I knew it was a curacao something. I did get to try that, and boy, that was yummy. That was really, really good. Oh, that smells like it's going to be good. All right. So, had a sample through Live Wire Whiskey and was so amazing. Yeah, totally. All right. So, anyway, went back, drank with people at La Quinta. That was super fun. All right. So, then the day of the event, I'll kind of hurry through some of this because I know it's like 9:49 and whatever. But so the day of the event, we got there at like noon to set up for everybody to arrive around 1:30, 2 o'clock. I was flying my drone around, which was kind of fun. Having just fun meeting people and talking with some of the distilleries and such. And there was a distillery there that I am going to take a second here and not only find them, but Colorado Whiskey Distillery. I found this the other day. Of course, Stranahan's. What is this called? Because I want you guys to know about this one. And the problem is that they were pretty tasty, but they don't distribute like anywhere yet. Begins with an L or an N. Well, yes, Talnua. Thank you. I appreciate you thinking of that for me instead. So they had an interesting amount of whiskeys. They had like 5 or 6 different whiskeys, and I tried them all sequentially. I got to know the owner, which was kind of funny because it was this woman. I don't recall her name. I have it on a card. And as I was talking to her, I was just like, like, oh wow, you seem really knowledgeable. Are you like the head distiller or the owner or something? She's, oh yeah, I'm the owner. I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. And so we started talking for a little bit, and she was like, I want to do something with you, whatever. And I told her, I was like, well, wait until you're a little bit more distributed, because frankly, if I interview somebody or do anything about a whiskey that none of you can get your hands on, that's not good for you. It's not good for her. So I guess look for her in a couple of years. But I'm excited about this distillery. Their whiskeys were all reasonably priced and approachable, but cool because they were various, right? There was one that was probably like a good replacement for Tullamore Dew, like better than Tullamore Dew in my opinion. There was one that was just kind of like a straight bourbon, not actually a straight bourbon, but like it was a bourbon. There was another one that was very lightly peated, but it was enough that it was interesting, but it was small enough amount that it would, in my mind, be an awesome one to introduce people to peat. That way they're not just blown out of, that tastes like smoke, because we all get that too much. So this is Talnua, Talnua, I believe. Thank you, pinch hitter. So then they had 2 other ones as well. There was like a single malt maybe, and then like a something finished. Maybe I don't recall what it was finished in, but there were 5 of them, and they were very good. It was the only table that I did the whole lineup. And then another table that was there, which was really fun, was Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, which Scott from Scotch Test Dummies was running that table. Now, Roy from Aquavitae, he actually ended up just behind the table pouring for people, talking all about it, because of course he knows a ton about Scottish distilleries. And it was fun, actually. I learn a lot from Roy whenever I talk to him, and have a good time doing that. So we drank for a while, and we did our thing and had some good barbecue, et cetera. And the actual event, if I'm being honest, it seemed like there were less people there this year, but it could have just been the way it was laid out. I don't know how many tickets they sold this year. Maybe one of you do, but typically they sell about 500 tickets. And I'm sure that they sold as many tickets as they could, but I wonder if there were less people here this year or if it just was the way it was. All right, let me go ahead and have a sip of this, because I'm sure some of you care a lot more about the Parker's heritage than my reenactment of a weekend. Wow. Okay. Ooh, I love that. It's got this little kick right at the end. It must be the heavy char. That's really good. Very heavy oak though. Wow. It's so tannic. It's like my tongue is like super cool though. I like this a lot. I'm gonna sip on this one for a little bit. So after everything was over, after everybody was kind of leaving, oh, actually, no, there was a fun little thing. So there was an axe throwing thing there. Apparently they did the Whiskey Olympics, and it was pretty much like cornhole, and then something to do with like a paintball gun, and then there was axe throwing, and people could do all three of these events, and then you score points, and whoever got the most ended up doing a thing. Jesse actually from Stillet was one of the three finalists with the highest scores. So I ended up talking with the guy that was running the axe throwing, and I've done some axe throwing in my time, just not a whole lot, maybe like 3 or 4 times I've gone, but enough that like I could throw an axe and be fairly accurate. It doesn't take a whole lot of skill. It does to like hit the little tiny dots up in the top, but like to hit the bullseye, it's just like you just have to know how to throw it properly. So me and the axe throwing guy actually were kind of doing this by ourselves while everybody else was off, getting ready for the closing ceremonies, and we were just throwing axes together. It was super cool. I was like throwing, point for point with him. And I'm like, this is great. I'm actually doing wonderful. And he's like, all right, let's start going for like the small targets. And boy, did I just epic fail there. I could not hit them to save my life. But anyway, that was really fun. So after the closing ceremonies, which were also really cool, I imagine that like Chad and Sarah are going to put out a video on all this stuff. So if any of you are interested in actually seeing any of what I'm talking about, you'll do better to just watch their video. But this is a fun little recap. And fun way for me to relive the night. So after the Bastards Ball, we ended up going back up to the Wizard's Tower, which is where all the whiskey's kept, and drank quite a bit of that as well, again, and then headed back to La Quinta. Now, this is where, in my mind, the best part of the entire weekend happens, is the night after the ball at La Quinta. This is the stuff of legends. You've all heard of La Quinta for this reason, and it was not a disappointment. There was so much whiskey, it was ridiculous. Now, many of you probably saw I tried to put up a live stream, and I appreciate all of you guys for saying thank you for that. Like, I really wish I could have gotten it to work. I was at a 1.5 meg upload speed, which is not enough to do anything. And that was just, it was like twice that for downloads. Just something was wrong with the network, because it's worked in previous years. I even downgraded like everything, like the bitrate I was outputting at, just everything, and it just was not working. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of the stuff that happened. So there was a Springbank 12 cask strength being passed around, which I did get. This is another cool thing about being a whiskey tuber. Not a single really good bottle goes by without somebody bringing it up to me and saying, Bill, do you want to try this? Which, yeah, I keep doing that. So it was awesome. I ended up hanging out with Roy a little bit, and we were talking whiskey, and him and I were giving each other blind tastings, which you guys know how terrible I am at that, but he's much better than me. Funny thing, he brought this bottle. It was from a company called North Star, and he brought the bottle. And so I poured him some of that as a blind taste just to see, I'm like, does he know what it tastes like enough to be able to nail it? And he did. He got it almost immediately. He was just like, okay, it's malty. Okay, so it's definitely a Scotch. Like, the way he picked it apart was actually something I kind of can learn from. Whereas, like, when I am blind tasting, my brain's trying to say, what have I had that tastes like this? What can I compare it to? He goes a different way. He says, what do I know about this whiskey? And then uses that to filter it down. It's like coming at it from two separate angles, and his way is better. All right, so we all drank for a very long time. I allowed myself, because I was back at the hotel, I allowed myself to get really, really drunk. And to the point where about 2:30 or so, or maybe about 2 o'clock, I was like, I think I'm done. I'm going to go up to the room, and I'm going to just crash. And I was really gross from the day because it was super sweaty at the event and everything. And so I go up to my room and I go to open the door and the key card doesn't work. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. So I had to go all the way back down to the lobby. I got a new key card. I went back up to the room, tried it again. Didn't work again. And it's not giving me a red light. It's not giving me a green light. It's not giving me anything. I was like, what the hell's happening here? So I go back down, try it again. I come back up, try it again, back down again. He gives me a card. He says, well, don't keep coming back down. Like, if it doesn't work this time, then give me a call. So I go back up, doesn't work. I give him a call. And, hey, David. So as I tried it like the 4th or 5th time, I give him a call. He comes up, this guy. He's, this is another picture worth showing here. All right. Let's do right here. Sorry, this will add to it, I promise. Probably shouldn't interrupt my own story just to find an image. Had I been better prepared, I would have had all this stuff ready to go. So I apologize for that. So those of you in the Discord already kind of know where this is going, but we'll get to it. All right. That's not what I want. I don't want freaking shortcuts. 3 seconds. Grab this. There's multiple pictures. All right. So, dude comes up. He's got this keypad in his hand, and it's like used to kind of break through the door. It has a USB plug and everything. So first he replaces the batteries. That doesn't work. Then he tries to break in using the keypad, and that's not working, right? So then he's trying to like kind of just pry open the door using a screwdriver, which is kind of what you're seeing here. That's not working either. So then he gets his manager on the phone, who's sleeping. And it's this woman named Scarlett who I had met a couple of times. And actually, she was very happy to see us. She was very complimentary. And she was like, we love when you guys come because you always like are very friendly and you clean up after yourselves. And we don't even care the fact that you're drinking until like 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And meanwhile, it's about probably 2:30, 2:45 at this point. And the dude's still trying to get through here. So he calls up Scarlett and he's like, hey, you got to come here and help. And so she shows up in her pajamas, holding a knife about this long, like that's the blade, and then it's got like the iron. All right, what do you call it? Like the knuckle, the metal pieces of your knuckles, like a combat knife, right? And she shows up with that, just holding it. I'm like, hello, Scarlett. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna just try to pry open the door. I had this in my car, so I'm like, okay. That sounds cool. So I stand back thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? She's going to try to pry this door. And like, I have a dive knife. It's specifically made for diving, and the tip of it's blunted because it's designed like if you're in a really bad swell, you could take the knife and you could shove it in the ground and just kind of hold yourself there. So I've done that before. It was a pretty bad swell and the tip broke right off. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, she's going to shove this knife in the door. The tip is going to just break off. It's going to fly into my eye. So I get very far away. And then I'm watching her kind of wiggling. And then she says to the other guy, she says, kick down the door. Now you saw that guy I just put up here. He's a big boy. And so when he's like, I'm gonna break down the door, I backed up even further. So she's holding the knife in the lock. He's kicking the door. It's about 3 a.m. He kicks it over and over and over again, at least 10, 12 times, and it's not working. Now she's not like small, but she's short, but she's not like frail, right? So I'm like, I'm huge. Let me give it a couple of kicks. So I give it a couple of kicks, but I'm also like totally hammered. I did a poor job. I was like, you know what? I could be more useful holding the knife. So I hold the knife in the door and I'm just leaning up against it with my shoulder as hard as I can, just trying to like really put the door on the edge of being, opened. And then the dude takes like 3 flying kicks at the door. And on the third one, it opens right up and the whole door frame shatters and there's pieces of wood flying in the room. And we finally got into the room. And then he's like, all right, so now you got to pack up all your stuff. I'm going to move you to another room. I'm like, dude, it's 3:15, but you're right. I'm not going to sleep with the door cracked open. So I ended up having to move all my stuff down to another room, which took me until about 3:45, and that sucked. And then meanwhile, I came down to the lobby just to kind of talk to some people and be like, hey, guess what happened? My leg was bleeding for some reason. I actually have no idea why. I'm going to attribute it probably to the door. So that was a thing. And then, so that was fun. And long story continued to be longer. They charged me for the room this morning and they charged me the full amount. So I called up and I was just like, yeah, I think you guys kind of remember this whole situation. He's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll give you a free night. So yeah. Yes, that's a good edit. Hey, Steve, I hope you had a nice date with your buddy. One other whiskey I forgot to mention that I had while I was at the vault was this little guy. This was super good. So some of you might recognize that as, was it Black Arts or dark? I always call it Dark Arts. Black Arts. I don't know which version. I don't know anything about it, but I can tell you when I had a sip of that, it's only the second one I've ever had, and it is Black Art. When I had a sip of that, I was like weak in the knees. It's just so delicious. If you ever see a bottle or if you ever have an opportunity to buy it, I don't even care what it costs. Like, you might pay $400 for that bottle and it will be worth the money. It's one of those very few that I would say is worth whatever you could pay for it. Like almost worth like a secondary price kind of thing. All right. So, couple more things. So after, and then I have a special whiskey that I do want to get to. I know I'm like way over time, but I don't really care. Actually, is Clifton on tonight? I don't want to go too much into his time because I would feel bad. But there is one more whiskey I want to get to. Let me just double check real quick who's overlapping me right now. All right, so Clifton is going. So I'll try to keep this as short as I can. Pretty much anybody else I wouldn't care, but I like Clifton. All right, so let's pour one more, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're doing here. So I got this little bottle here. This is not going to be a Wheel of Doom. And for anybody who missed the beginning, I have this special little bottle. And it says Cask Strength on it. In case you can't read that, you probably can't read that. Cask Strength. And this one is actually from a new distillery called, I believe it's called Dog and Shrub. Yeah, Dog and Shrub Distillery. And this is where Ed from the Rock Gut Review is now working as the head distiller, or the Ed distiller, as I like to call him. So he sent me a sample of something that they put out. This is only in Wisconsin. Honestly, you probably can't get it unless you go to the distillery. But just in case anybody's near there, and I think, I know nothing about this. Honestly, it might be trash. I don't think it would be because Ed at least knows rye. So I'm very excited to try this. Knowing how much Ed likes rye, I'm very excited to try what he thinks it was worth sending out. He sent me a little note, says, don't read before you try the rye. So they don't have any distribution yet, so you would have to go to their place. But I really wanted to have this on the stream because I just thought it'd be fun. All right, so looking at this, I know nothing about this, like at all, other than that it's a rye. So I'm trying to figure some stuff out. So the legs on this are fairly thick. So I'm going to say this, it does say Cask Strength, but I'm going to say it's probably about 120 or so, just looking at that. But let's see what I think off the nose. No, there's zero chance. You're right, Steve. Ed is not going to let me get a crappy rye from them. Ooh, that's really, really piney, and it's like all about pine tonight. Maybe that's just a thing I'm smelling. There's something there. Hold on. What is that? It's super vegetal. That's the most I can limit it to. Hold on one sec. I don't know where that thing went. I have like a flavor wheel, and I was gonna try to. Well, duh! I could just use my own book. I didn't know I had it within reach. All right, so let me go through my own little wheel here. All right, so off the nose, citrus is very slight. Herbal is huge. Floral, perhaps. Nutty, no. Malty, no. Toffee, no. Peaty, no. Sulfury, no. Woody, not really. Cereal, a little bit. Fainty, no. Smoky, no. Spicy, not on the nose. I'm sure on the taste. Sweet, for sure. Winey, actually, I'd say yes, a little bit. Balance, it's very well balanced, actually, on the nose. I'm excited. I don't use this nearly enough, but for anybody who has this book, like I truly think it's worth it to just go bit by bit and think about each individual flavor note. Is it fuzzy on the nose? I would say yeah. Pungent, not super. Warming, not really. Drying, a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. All right, you got Balcones Dusk. I don't have that one. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. To Ed and his new position as an Ed distiller. I think that's just wonderful. Cheers. Whew. Okay. Oh, man. Wow. Cask Strength for sure. I might have even been low on the 120. That is huge. Well, man, the amount of times you guys have seen me cough at a whiskey is probably counted on one hand. That's high proof. All right. Well balanced, though, I will say. The proof is high, but the flavor is pretty well balanced. As far as body goes, lighter on the body than I would expect. Dark fruit. I wouldn't have thought so, but I'm kind of. Yeah, maybe. I'll get back to you on that one. Citrus, no. Floral in the taste, no, but definitely herbal. Like, as far as the little spider graph goes that you guys have seen, like it'd be on the outside of, or it's called a radar graph. But I always call it a spider graph because it looks, my lighting is different than normal. It looks like a spider web. Herbal would be like off the charts. Nutty, no. Malty, maybe a little bit. It'd get like the first little indent. Toffee, nah. Peaty, sulfury, woody. Woody, nah. Cereal, yes. Fainty, no. Smoky, no. Spicy, surprisingly low on spicy, despite it being a rye. This is very sweet for a rye, but really what's taking over is all of these herbal notes, which makes me think it's probably a little young for a rye. Spicy, sweet for sure. Winey again, yes. So a lot of the same kind of stuff on the taste as in the nose. But let's see what he wrote here. I haven't seen this yet, so give me a sec to pre-read. I don't want him to be like, "Hey, there, Dick," you know. I hope you enjoyed the whiskey. If you didn't, I'm excited to learn how we can improve. Okay, here are the particulars about the bottle. Perfect. So mash bill is 86% rye, 14% malted barley. Okay, so I do think at the flavored part I said it was like a little bit malty, but I would have actually put it a little less than 14%, just if I had to guess. 120 proof. Wow, I was like very close. Although I think I countered myself when I said it was like a little higher than that. So 120 proof. Still, I'm gonna give myself credit on that. Age is 1 year, 151 days, which is 17 months. Barreled on February 25th, 2021. Dumped on July 26th, 2022. So yeah, a little young. Cooperage is new Char number 2, 15-gallon barrel. Okay, so a small barrel. Barrel number 6, I call it the Sean Bean barrel. Entry proof 118, so it proofed up. Just releases distillery only. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I like Ed enough that I feel like I would have a biased opinion just to say anything. But for what it is, like, I have not tasted a rye like this. It's a little young as far, if I had to give it any negative, but the flavor that it brings out of that youngness is kind of fun. It's really, really herbally though. It's funny, I would almost equate this a little bit to like gin in some ways. That almost like that juniper berry thing going on. Only in the finish. Like as soon as I took another sip, I was like, nah, that's totally wrong. But anyway, all right. So I'm like way over time here. I'm poor Clifton. I feel bad for him. And yeah, thank you everybody here for joining tonight. It's great being back live stream. I'm actually having a fun time doing it again. And I've got all kinds of fun plans. I'm going to kind of have like a rotation. You know, like 1 week will be the Blend Bill's Bar. Another week will be the Wheel. Another week will be kind of like maybe some YouTubers come join me. Maybe I'll do another one where I actually interview a distillery or something like that. Let me know if there's any concepts that you guys would like to see. A blind tasting would be fun too. You know, Blend Bill's Bar is sort of like blind tasting, but I suck at blind tasting. I would like to get better. So I have no problem making a fool of myself on a live stream as long as I'm learning, because that's kind of what this is all about. Like, I'm not a professional. What is a professional drinker anyway, other than an alcoholic? So anyway, thank you all very much for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Cheers.